Hey, this is John Fernay, the co-host of the Maryland Crabs, and I am here today with a Maryland Crabcake for your listening pleasure. What's a crabcake? It's not quite a full episode, it's just a little snippet. Stay tuned and check it out. And make sure you check us out on themarylandcrabs.com. You can follow us on Twitter at MD Crabs Podcast, or find us on Facebook at the Maryland Crabs Podcast. And don't forget, subscribe, rate us, iTunes. Go there now. Hey, Annapolis has not had the pleasure of hearing too much of our guest today because she was only here, I think, twice. A few years back on a boat with the WRNR Rockin' River Cruise, and about a year ago for a WRNR Private Artist Showcase. And joining us today is Lissie, who is a singer, a songwriter, a guitarist extraordinaire. And I want to thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to talk with us. And how are you?
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you. I'm good. I'm doing well, thanks.
Well, I want to get this out of the way. For anybody that has not heard Lissie, just go to lissie.com, and that's Lissie, and click around, and you're going to become an instant fan. I got first turned on to you.
Thank you.
Well, it is. I mean, I got turned on to you when I heard a cover of yours when you did Fleetwood Mac's, I guess, Go Your Own Way, back in 2010, 11 maybe?
Yeah, about 2011. That sounds about right.
And
2010, actually.
And then I became a fanboy, if you will, with Shameless, which was
awesome.
Really one of the which is such a badass song. It really is. And right now you're out in support of your latest album, Castles. And you're going to be here in Annapolis this Saturday for a rare Ram's Head matinee show, which gets underway at 1 p.m. And there are a few tickets still available, and you can get them at ramsheadonstage.com. But what can we expect out of your show?
Well, I put out a new album this year, Castles, and, my fourth full-length album, and have been so proud of that album, and it's been such a pleasure. I've been working with a new band this last year that are based in Minneapolis, as I've now relocated to Iowa the past few years, kind of back to my roots. But so I am actually kind of in this fun spot now where I've finished up promoting Castles in like the full band context, and actually getting back to what I sort of secretly love the most, which is doing these solo acoustic performances. So, what people expect is, or can expect is, kind of this intimate, kind of almost, it feels kind of loose and casual when I do these solo gigs, because I'm fortunate to have such great fans. They just talk to me from the crowd, and that happens almost every time. So it's a lot of like interaction. I can tell stories about the songs and take requests of songs that if I still remember how to play them, I'll play them. And so it kind of ends up feeling like kind of just like a little close-up party that I get to have with the people that come to the shows.
Well, that kind of begs the question, and I know that I'm looking at your different gigs that you're playing. I mean, I know you're playing the Sellersville Theater in a couple weeks, and that's a beautiful theater if you've never been to it. You've played festivals. You've played, before, thousands and thousands. And here at Ram's Head, we're looking at 350. Do you have a preference to a smaller room? I mean, it sounds like you're very, intimate and like that.
Well, I guess I don't really have a preference because it's just such a different experience. I've played festivals in front of 10,000 people, and I've played, in rooms where there's maybe like 20 people there. So, with the band, I definitely get the opportunity to really like embody the songs as they are on the record, and kind of feel like, a little bit more in my own head, where I'm not maybe as connected to the audience, because I'm just sort of like rocking out and sort of going into the zone, which is really cool in its own way. But now that I'm kind of going back to doing a run of more kind of solo stuff, like even if it's a bigger venue, I feel like it just sort of creates more of like a group bond or something in a different way than playing like a full band rock show.
Well,
I don't know exactly how else to explain it. It's sort of like you create like a mood so that your guests are not only enjoying your music, but like hopefully like enjoying one another's company as well. Like you want to create like a good vibe and a good atmosphere, and I feel like I have a little more control when I'm doing the solo thing and trying to create that environment.
Well, it's funny. Okay, you said control. Now, you were signed to Columbia for a record deal back in like 2008, 2009, somewhere in there. and you've left them now, and I don't know whether you left them or they left you. I know, the music business does that.
Yeah, well, no, I did. I got dropped. Like I was hot. No, I put out 2 albums with Columbia out of the UK, which is Sony, and that was a great experience. But, a lot of things changed within the company, actually, by the time I got around to making my second record. So, I would have, I think, contractually maybe had done one more album with them, and then I was dropped. But it was perfectly fine at the time. I was ready for like a change and to sort of get a little bit of, you mentioned the word control back of like how I wanted to create and what I wanted my life to look like. I was able to sort of get more hands-on after I was dropped.
Well, certainly after on Castles, my favorite song, and I think it's sort of a fan favorite for everybody, it's probably no surprise to you, but Best Days. And as you look at the lyrics of that, it seems to be, in a sense, a little bit of a middle finger to the big life in California. And it really is a mirror of what you're doing. You left, the big city, went back to your roots, which actually also sort of describes your music style, I think, sort of rootsy. And you're in Iowa on a farm, of all places.
Yeah, I know. And then, like with Best Days, I mean, it is autobiographical, and all my music is very, true to my life. I write songs as I'm going through things, kind of real time.
You never did any kind of Taylor Swift stuff, did you?
Writing about boys.
Yeah, the Scorned Lovers or anything.
Yeah, no, I totally did. That's where it all kind of is worth it. You suffer for your art a little bit, and then you get to write about it in your song. So I for sure, even on this last record, I mean, that whole album is really very specifically about one person that I had a really dysfunctional relationship with. So
wow, okay.
I got a great album out of it. No, and I learned a lot. I think that's from body of work to body of work. In all seriousness, I mean, it's really my music and my catalog. My body of work has really served in each album cycle just to kind of give me an opportunity to reflect on my relationships and my behavior. And, through those songs, I really feel like I'm able to grow and like learn kind of with each, like all of us in our lives, whether we're songwriters or not, like learn with each kind of misstep what you can do differently. So I think coming out on the other side of that album, I feel like I've really grown so much as a person in so many ways. But like Best Days, it's like I dropped out of college and I moved to LA, and I did that for a while, and there were good and bad things about that, but I have a lot of like fondness for that time of my life. But, now I'm sort of living more of a balanced life of course, I'm always going to sing and perform and play shows and put out records and work hard. But I also really love gardening, and I really love country living, and I really like being back in the Midwest. And, I do have this like almost 50-acre farm, and I'm trying to get more acreage, and I want to figure out how I can be a little more hands-on on the land. And, so Best Days, I think it's just all kind of about this journey and hoping like whatever kind of comes next, like, I can't even really tell you what that's going to be. I mean, the future's unknown, but, really kind of trying to pivot in a way towards like, looking towards the future and kind of being ready for something new for this next chapter that I'm hoping is going to maybe be, some of the best days yet.
As the song says, the best days are ahead. So what is trying? I mean, you like the gardening and whatnot. I mean, 50 acres plus seems a little bit extreme to go for somebody that likes gardening. What do you have? Do you have animals on the farm? Do you?
I rent out the tillable acreage for the time being to your farmy listeners. But I just have a small garden, and I can and stuff like that, and like freeze and try to get crafty when I'm home and somebody keeps bees on the property. But, my plan was to put it into conservation, but all of the like conservation programs that the government was offering when I moved there actually aren't on offer anymore. So I guess there's maybe the administration doesn't value conservancy as much. So I think now my idea is kind of to put all of my land into like a non-treated alfalfa so that I can certify it organic, and maybe then I would rent my land out to someone who would want to do some organic, very like specialty things. I don't want to tell you before because I don't want to jinx it, but I really would like to maybe develop kind of a line of my own, kind of packaged like dry goods and things that I could like sell in conjunction with my records.
And the brand, that's
like popcorn and bird, yeah, like
great.
Popcorn and bird feed and stuff. But no, it keeps changing. So I say that, and then it might never happen. But the plan was always conservancy, and I'm still planning to do a lot of that, like wildflowers and grasses, things that are good habitat for birds and bees and pollinators and so on.
Right. Well, congratulations on leaving the big city behind. And, personally, I have no love for LA or California, and I think it's fantastic that you sort of went back to your roots, if you will.
Yeah, well, and I have a ton of love for California, and I have a lot of friends in Los Angeles, and so just because it wasn't right for me doesn't mean that I want to hate on someone else's life choices. To each their own, and California is a beautiful state. But yeah, I mean, I didn't grow up there. My family's not there. I like the seasons. I like the people. I like the pace of life. So yeah, I mean, it's sort of like everybody has a place that feels like home to them, I think, and California stopped being that for me.
Hey, before we wrap up, tell me a little bit about Laura's Legacy.
Yeah, so Laura's Legacy is a fundraising concert that I put on annually in Rock Island, Illinois, which is my hometown. My Aunt Laura passed away from ALS in 2010, and it's an awful disease. It's the amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, and it's a motor neuron disease that is just, I mean, I'm without words to just describe how awful it is, but basically people no longer, like their nerves and muscles can't communicate. So, if you get ALS, there are a few exceptions, but mostly people, then they just kind of deteriorate and die within a few years. So sadly, my Aunt Laura got ALS and passed away. And so my family and I did like a fundraising walk that first year that kind of to us felt like it was a way to celebrate her life and put kind of a positive spin on a really tragic situation. That brought up the idea of like, why don't we do this annual concert in her hometown, my hometown, call it Laura's Legacy, and raise money for patients and like research. And so this is our 7th year. I think we just did our 7th year this June, and now we've raised just around $100,000 over the last 7 years. That has all gone to patient support, support for the families of patients, like support groups and equipment and all the things that people who get this diagnosis would need. So yeah, that's been a really like important part of my summer over the years. Is all the family gets together and all my old friends, kindergarten on up, come out with their families, and it's right on the Mississippi River, on a beautiful park. And yeah, so it's a really, like I said, a way to sort of create something positive out of something terrible.
Well, it's a tremendous legacy to your aunt, and to certainly doing good to the community and the general community and everything else. I mean, that's definitely very, very admirable. Certainly.
Yeah, well, it's a family affair, and it's a community affair. And, I think I'm in the kind of a rare position as like a singer and an artist. I maybe have a little bit more of an ability to kind of get people's attention. So why not, use that for something good?
If you've got the stage, use it.
Yeah.
When you're in here on Saturday, after you're done your sound check, if you can get down onto Main Street, which is just around the corner from the Ram's Head, you'll probably see about 500 people running around in Speedos dressed up as Santa Claus. We've got our annual Santa Speedo run. And that was started by a guy, a good friend of mine who passed away of ALS earlier this year in February. And they do raise funds for that and everything else. And it's and I totally hear you with the type of disease it is. It's just unforgiving and just, awful. But if you happen to see a whole bunch of people running around dressed up as Santa with in varying forms of Speedos and bikinis, that's what it is.
But cold Santas.
It is.
Cold naked Santas.
It's all about drinking. Let's be real here. I mean, they started a bar at the bottom of Main Street. They pretty much go to the top of Main Street, go back down, and go drink again. So, and it raises money, and we do Toys for Tots and everything else. So it's sort of a fun event that we do every year. Sometimes it snows, sometimes it rains, sometimes it's very nice and balmy, and other times it's cold. But if you get done your sound check, go down and take just peek down at the top of Main Street. It might be kind of fun just to see that. You would get a good laugh anyway.
I would love to see that and support that. I think it's always good to, like you said, get people together to have a good time even if it's kind of in the light of something that's challenging and sad and tragic, it's like being able to sort of remember our collective ability to like gather and make joy is good.
Unfortunately, we've done a little bit of that. We had the Capital Gazette, which is our local newspaper. They had a newsroom shooting back in June, and gunmen came in and killed 5 people in the newsroom. And
oh my goodness, I feel like maybe I did hear about that and I didn't realize that was
actually
so
just yesterday they were just named one of the persons of the year for Time magazine because the staff committed the day of the shooting said, we've got 5 of our friends and colleagues that are dead, but we're putting out a damn newspaper. And they did every single day since then, and they've really shown some tenacity and some bravery in the whole thing and getting through it. But the city came together, put on a benefit concert. Good Charlotte headlined it because they're somewhat local here, and it was just it was just fabulous that we that you did that. And you're absolutely right that you can turn around and put a positive spin on something that's horrible. It's healing for everybody. It's whether it's the situation with us or whether it's some loved one that died of a disease or whatever it may be. It definitely helps. Don't want to take too much more of your time, but I just wanted to say, thank you very much for, giving us a call. I do encourage everybody to certainly go to Lissie.com, check it out, but more importantly, go to ramsheadonstage.com and get a ticket. They are going fast. There's a few left. They are going fast. It's a rare noon or matinee type show. Doors open at noon with the show at 1, and it is all ages, which is really unusual for Ram's Head because usually that's a 21 and up venue. So you can bring children, and I don't think anybody can get introduced to good music too young. I don't think there's a minimum age for that.
I keep it clean too. I don't curse in my. Well, maybe one of my songs has a bad word in it, but for the most part,
we just roll right past that. Roll right past that. And this show is actually sponsored by WRNR, and I know I've heard you on there, time and time again. They're a great supporter of local and independent music as well. One of the few left around. We certainly appreciate them with all the airplay that they give you and everything else. And I'm looking forward to seeing you on Saturday at noon.
I'm so super grateful to them as well. I think, they've definitely, hopefully gotten my music into people's ears around there. And I'm super grateful to them for doing so. And it's going to be a lot of fun to come and play a whole show.
A full set.
And get to visit again.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Well, I am looking forward to seeing you on Saturday, and have a safe trip out. Are you in Iowa now, or are you out on the road?
Well, I'm actually on the Illinois side of the river in my hometown of Rock Island right now, and my mom and I are about to go do some Christmas shopping. So, and then I'll fly out on Friday and see you guys on Saturday.
Okay. Well, give me your email address, and I'll send you my Christmas list. As long as you're out Christmas shopping.
Okay. Only the kids are getting presents this year. The adults are kind of not doing that. I'll just play extra good for you on Saturday.
There you go.
Yeah.
Lissie, thank you very much for your time. We will see you on Saturday.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much.
This has been the Maryland Crabs podcast with Tim Hamilton and John Fernay. Sure to follow them in all the regular places, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and online at themarylandcrabs.com. Take a moment to rate us on iTunes. Now, get the hell out of my kitchen. Seriously. Go!
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.